welcome to episode 8 of PauseCast. It's July 20th, 2016. I am Jessica Alette, and I use she, her pronouns.
And I'm Mark Hinner, I use he, him.
I don't have any quips to say about episode 8. Like, I've tried really hard with these past episodes, but I haven't really got anything to say.
No.
Do you want to just get straight?
It's a nice number, like it's 2 to the 2 to the 2. But
it's considered to be
really
lucky in Chinese culture as well, I believe.
Luck. Don't talk to me about luck.
Oh, no. Have you been having a bad time with some RNG?
No. Just not a fan of superstitious concepts like luck.
That's fair. It sounds more to me like you are upset about some bad RNG in Monster Hunter.
No, I've actually had a decent run with that. I haven't had to worry about getting any rare items from monsters or anything yet. I'm not that far into it. I've only got like 20 hours into it, I think. Which isn't bad since I picked it up on Saturday morning.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good amount of time, I'd say. That's more time than I can put into most games in the span of 2 weeks.
Yeah, I got about 18 hours into it over the weekend, but to be fair, I was distracted on a lot of Saturdays, so I didn't get as much in as I hoped.
Yeah. It's kind of weird. I always end up playing 5 or 6 different narrative games at once.
Yeah, I try to keep myself away from that as much as I can.
And I'm the opposite. I always do it. And I feel like such an idiot doing it.
Do you get them confused when you do?
I strangely don't. I can compartmentalize these stories very, very easily, but it's still kind of a weird thing for me to be doing, like tracking all these stories at once. It's not like a book where you pick up your book and you read that for a couple weeks on end, and that's it. You don't read really anything else. You're just reading that one thing.
I mean, I'm 9.5 books into a 14-book series, so if I started reading a different series as well, this one has got now so many subplots that have built up over these 9 books that it's like reading a few series at a time. I need to just read the one to keep track of all of that. It's good though. I like it.
So, what have you been playing this week?
Well, up until the weekend, I hadn't actually played anything. I'd since finishing my Monster Hunter 4U goal of beating the G-Rank final online boss last weekend, the weekend before last rather, I just sort of put it down, stopped, didn't play games for a while, read my books, and then Monster Hunter Generations was released on Saturday, and like I said, I've done more than 20 hours of that so far, and it's only Wednesday, so that's what I've been playing. It's good fun.
Excellent.
Yeah, my flatmate and I both had pre-ordered it, which I normally shy away from, but since it's not a super well-known or popular game here, we wanted to make sure that actually have enough physical copies in the store for us both to get one, and my cousin as well, who also plays it. So we got those, went home, started playing it. We actually didn't play together, although it is a multiplayer game to start with, since there's single-player content as well, but we've done a bunch of both now. And yeah, I'm as into it as I expected to be.
Excellent. And by that you mean you were just
super into it,
running through that game for the weekend.
Yeah, I've always really liked Monster Hunter games. But I can definitely understand how people would find them tough to get into, but once you've spent a few hundred hours in them, it's no problem. They do require a lot of patience, though. Like, if you're used to games where you can... Well, let me put it this way. Monster Hunter is a game of boss fights that take 15 to 45 minutes each. And typically you're, like, going solid the whole time, need to focus on it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the final challenges I had on the previous game... every mission has a 50-minute time limit at the most. Some are shorter, most are 50 minutes. I had a 50-minute time limit, and I was wailing on this monster for full-on 46.5 minutes before it died. So that was cutting it pretty close.
Yeah.
Most of them don't take that long. Short ones are 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
I've definitely had some missions when I was playing Monster Hunter 3 where I was cutting it really close or just straight up not making it. I believe that it was the Duramboros fight that I first ran into this problem, really, where I was going through, I felt like I was doing a lot of damage. Well, I'm sorry, you know what, I should clarify. I didn't feel like I was doing a lot of damage. I say that, but the reality of it is that's not the truth. I just want to sound impressive. But I'm not doing a ton of damage, and the match just kind of like drags on. I keep trying to use traps, and I try everything in the book, and it just takes forever. And
it can be one of two things, right? And so Monster Hunter, for those who haven't played it, is a game where typically, actually a little bit less in this one, but just in general, especially in last games, it has been all about two things. One is your equipment, and the other is player skill.
Yeah.
There are no character levels or stats or anything
and
like that. It's
we've
all
talked
about what you wear.
how kind of great Monster Hunter's design is because it's all gear based, and you can create co-op. Sorry, you can do co-op far more easily than you can.
Yeah, I can just
series.
put on some old weak armor and get a crappy weapon and go play with someone low level, and I will not be blowing them out of the water, killing monsters really quickly, because I will do as much damage as them, and it's all just down to player skill then.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really cool. There's some new stuff in this game which is kind of like player stats, in that you actually unlock special skills, but you always keep access to the old skills, and you choose which ones you have equipped at a time. So you can still go back to an earlier set. So that hasn't really broken that by tying stuff to the player. So I think they've done that well. And also those new skills, which they call Hunter Arts, they're like special moves and stuff.
Yeah.
They are so satisfying. Oh, it's great. It's really fun when you use your super powerful move and it ends up being the final blow and stuff like that.
Yeah, that is... It's always, like, I don't know, Monster Hunter is real special. It really is. And I'm so glad that this series fucking exists.
I also did something for the first time ever today, which I didn't expect to do, which is I street passed someone in the wild.
You've never done that, huh?
No, I've never done that.
What?
I had my 3DS in my inner jacket pocket today. I have all this week just thinking, I wonder if anyone else has picked up Generations I might bump into.
Yeah.
I didn't expect to, but today I got home, checked, had the little green light, and I thought, it's probably because I got home, I got my flatmate again. But no, I've actually got a guild card from someone else who's been playing it.
Yeah, I've run into that several times actually, because I used to take public transport everywhere, and I frequently go to the mall. So I'll have my 3DS with me, and I would say very often I will end up coming back with at least one street pass for one of the games I play. So like I'll probably have someone from Animal Crossing, and almost definitely a few Pokemon street passes.
Right.
That sort of thing.
Monster Hunter is definitely the main one I play on my 3DS. I do have other games, like I've got a bunch of Pokemon games. I've got, not the most recent, but the one before, the Fire Emblem game, and a few others. But I don't check back on those now to see if they've got notifications, since I'm not actively playing them.
Yeah.
But it's very cool to be like, hey, it's not just like me, Ken, and Jim who are playing Monster Hunter in New Zealand. It's some others as well.
Yeah. I was even getting street passes for Monster Hunter 3 while I was wandering about. So
I suppose as long as someone has an old save, it'll still do that, right? Unless they've turned street pass off for that game.
I mean, I guess, but I think I street passed a few people multiple times, and their guild cards were changing, so I would assume they're still playing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, like, 3 offered some unique stuff compared to...
It did. So 3 is the handheld one that had the underwater combat, right?
Yep, and it was on the Wii as well.
Yeah, that's right. It was the one on which you could transfer your save onto the Wii U copy and then back onto your 3DS.
Mm-hmm. And that was how you had to do the multiplayer, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, that was the first game that allowed, in some way, the handheld one to have online multiplayer. You had to transfer it onto your Wii U, which you had to own the game on as well, and then that would have online multiplayer, but then you could put it back on your 3DS. So it was like, kinda, sorta. But now this one and Monster Hunter 4U have both had online multiplayer on the handheld console, which is great. It's really nice to have. I've only used it to play with people I know. I haven't actually gone off and played with randoms, which I haven't felt the need to, but you can. and it's good to have that because Monster Hunter is a great cooperative multiplayer game.
Yeah.
And there's sort of more opportunities to collaborate now. In some ways, so one of the new features they've got in this is the hunter styles, which are like you can select one of 4 which allow you to do some special moves. Basically, one of them is an aerial style, which basically it makes it much easier to do jumping attacks. One way you do that is if you dodge into a monster or into another hunter, you'll propel yourself into the air, so you can like set yourself up with one of your friends to jump off them to attack something, which is quite cool. But the other I really like this. Really cool thing about this one is in previous Monster Hunter games, you've often had like little companions you take to with you on single player quests. And in most recent games, they have been anthropomorphic cats. And in this game, finally, you can play as them. It's so much fun.
The cats were kind of they don't have the best reputation from the previous games, have they? Because they've been kind of. It was them and the little acorn dudes.
Yeah.
Who don't have the best reputation because they make a lot of noise during fights. Is that still a problem?
Well, I haven't really found that to be a problem, but definitely my brother noticed this when he was playing the Generations demo. The cats you're given there, yeah, they make a lot of noise, but you have complete control over what skills they have access to. So if certain ones make a lot of noise and you don't want to play with the sound off, you can just say, hey, no, you don't have those skills, and they won't use that. So that's something.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And as for myself, I have been playing. I've been playing some more Call of Duty. I finished Advanced Warfare, which was the Kevin Spacey one.
Okay, so that's the most recent one?
Second most recent
Second most recent, okay.
The most recent one is what I've started playing now, because that's still got an active multiplayer community. I jumped into that for the first time. Mm-hmm. That was my first experience with Black Ops 3. And I'm into it.
Cool.
I'm into it on the basis that it has so much more verticality and creativity in the map design, because you have a jetpack and you can free run and there's all this cool stuff.
This is reminding me of that other first-person shooter that came out on Xbox a couple of years ago or something, where you had free running on walls and jetpacks and there were giant robots in it. What was that one again?
Titanfall.
That's the one. Yeah, this is making me think of Titanfall. Have you played that? Is that kind of similar to that?
I haven't played Titanfall because Titanfall's community wasn't huge, so there wasn't really an incentive to buy it because it didn't have a single player campaign or anything.
That's right. It had a quote campaign unquote, which was just a series of multiplayer matches, right?
Yep, and that made up your campaign, and I was like, that's
terrible.
That's a terrible idea. Yeah, it's legitimately bad, and that doesn't give me any reason to want to buy the game, especially
if you play first-person shooters for campaign, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I play these games for.
Yeah.
At least in most cases, because something else I've been playing has been Overwatch.
Right, that's the Blizzard one with a lot of really cool character design, right?
Correct.
Cool. So how's that?
It's really fun.
Yeah?
Yeah. Now, previous listeners may remember that I had some beef with Overwatch over what I had described at the time as personal ethical issues.
With Blizzard, right?
With Blizzard itself, yeah. These ethical issues were related to some of the policies that they held regarding holding your real identity, and I found that kind of bullshit and very, very uncomfortable for me as a transgender person. So I didn't want to buy their game as a basis of that. That was not something I was talking about previously on this show.
So now that you're playing a Blizzard game, does that mean that's resolved?
It does. I had a friend of mine by the name of @RobotMoxie on Twitter come chat with me and kind of clear up some stuff, because apparently what I had found out there was a lot of misconceptions about the Real ID system and what it restricted access to versus their just username system. I was under the impression that cross-region chat and the like was all locked down.
Right.
If you weren't exposing your Real ID to your friends. And
just for a bit of context, the problem you had with the Real ID system is it required a use of a legal name, which in the case of trans people often would mean it's their dead name, right?
That's correct.
Right. Yeah. Fair enough.
So after finding that out, I still took a couple weeks to warm up to the idea of getting Overwatch, but ended up buying it for myself and my fiance, and we played it together on the weekend for something like 5 or 6 hours, was it? No? She says, and I probably played it for like 2 hours. She played it for like 5 or 6. I did take a small break, so...
a small 3 or 4 hour break. Okay.
But we played it together, and it was a really, really fun experience.
Nice. So that reminds me, when you start up a Monster Hunter game, it gives you a message reminding you to take breaks.
Yeah.
Except the problem is I never get out of the game. I just close the lid of my 3DS, so I only see it like once per game.
Yeah.
But I feel like that message is made for people like me, who will open it in the morning, start playing, and then realize, I haven't had anything to eat today, and it's past dinner time.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So I haven't played Overwatch, but what I've seen of it is that it has really, really nice character design and really varied characters. How'd you find that? Did you have any that you liked playing, or like, do they have much about any backstory or anything like that in the game? I know it doesn't have a campaign.
There's nothing in the game. Everything, quote unquote, lore wise, is just outside of the game. There's shorts and comics and stuff like that.
Okay.
But there is nothing in terms of story in the game. The game is just it's a multiplayer arena shooter. Well, no, not arena shooter. That's an Unreal Tournament and Quake thing. It is a team shooter.
It's like Team Fortress kind of game.
Yeah, kind of a Team Fortress kind of deal. Except with 22 characters now, because they've just launched another character who is a support sniper, which is an interesting concept.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
What does that mean, a support sniper?
Long range heals and long range gradual damage.
So, do they actually use a sniper rifle to heal people?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it like just if they shoot a friendly, then they get healed? If they shoot an enemy, they get hurt?
I believe so.
That would be quite interesting to play. Just shoot everything.
Yeah. Pretty cool idea.
Yeah.
But I'm actually super into that idea. I'm into a lot of the characters. They all feel distinct in one way or another.
That's good with 22 characters as well.
Yeah.
How have they done in terms of avoiding boring white dude syndrome and stuff like that?
Actually, fairly well. There's a lot of there is a lot of people of color. There is a lot of really colorful characters just on the whole, and there's not a lot of dudes. There's a handful of dudes, and there's a lot of women.
I like that. That's good.
There's several older women as well.
This new character is an older woman, isn't she?
Yeah, she's actually one of the original set of 21's characters' mom.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
The character Farah,
Mm-hmm.
her mom is this new character, Anna.
Cool.
So Farah is an aerial offense type hero, and Anna is a support sniper.
I see that the way they've done this with interesting character designs, a little bit of backstory, but none of it's in-game, seems to have really encouraged fans to come up with little fan fiction stories in their own headcanons and stuff.
Oh yeah,
which is really cool.
People have fallen in love with these characters.
I've seen that. I think it's really great. I really like that. Even having not played the game, I see that and it makes me feel good.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it was something that was really hard to avoid for me. being like, even while I was being a bitter grump about it, I was like, this is not by a company that I want to support in any way, shape, or form. And then shit happening. Shit happened. Shit happened. It got cleared up, but the fans had just been going wild and continue to go wild for this.
It's good. The way it's built what looks like a really strong community from the outside and seems to have been a really successful game makes me hope that, others are going to try to do the same thing and just build a really nice, well-designed, strong cast of characters.
Absolutely. I really hope that people can take cues from Overwatch, but let me be clear. I only want them to take some cues, because for all that, Overwatch does have, a wide variety of characters. There's still some limits to that variety. We still see a lot of very typical body types.
Right.
And it's disappointing to see in a cast that otherwise has a huge amount of, a variety, that all of these body types are still relatively the same. They're all relatively, quote, attractive, athletic.
Right.
With the exception of May, who is depicted to be a little bit more heavy set.
Mm-hmm.
And she's lovely, by the way. She's adorable. But, there's not a whole lot of variety in body type. Love to see more of that.
Yeah, it's a rare thing to see in games, isn't it? I remember that there are some character creators, like the
Dragon's Dogma,
Fallout one, and the Dragon's Dogma one's a good example. I'm thinking the Fallout one with its triangle.
Yep, Saints Row used a similar one.
It did, didn't it?
Yep.
That's right. It used it first, and it had one point of the triangle was thin, one was heavy, one was muscle, or something like that. You pick up point within the triangle that's a combination of that. It never goes to, it seems like it's much more willing to go on the extreme thin / extreme muscly side than the extreme heavy side. I've seen few games that will have a big variety, but I remember the pixel art game I mentioned a while ago,
Bastard Bonds
actually has a decent array of body types when you're selecting it.
Yeah.
When you're doing your character customization there, which I was happy to see.
But it's not. It's definitely there's definitely some good steps being made towards representation of more and more people, and that's fantastic.
I remember there was some good stuff on that in Borderlands 2. I think none of the playable characters though.
No, none of.
There were a few. There was quite a variety of NPCs in there, which was quite nice to see.
Yeah, the NPC variety in Borderlands 2 was fantastic, and even with a really, really fat character, we had a woman who was also confident in her body, and she felt that she was attractive, and that
it wasn't done in a way that just turned into a fat joke or something.
No, it wasn't. She wasn't ever the butt of the. Well, she was the butt of the joke in the world, not in her writing, but other characters in the world considered her a joke. So she blew them up.
Based on that, yeah. Oh, that's right. She did.
Yeah. You go around, you have to go around collecting cars that have all these statues of her, and they're intended to mock her.
Doesn't she keep the statues?
Oh yeah, she keeps them and puts them all around her office, and she's like, I love this.
Yeah, that was cool. I remember that now. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
There was a lot of really, really smart writing in Borderlands 2, for all that it was filled with memes, which, the memes haven't aged well, but a lot of the other writing has. There's a scenario in that game where you can blow a dude's house off of the side of a cliff because he's being a misogynist. That's a thing that happens. Borderlands. And speaking of Borderlands as well, for anyone who's interested in Borderlands the pre-sequel, or in the next game from 2K, which doesn't really have a huge community, but you could help, Battleborn. Both of these games, and Civilization 5, Mafia 2, The Darkness 2, Spec Ops The Line, NBA 2K16, all available right now in the Humble 2K bundle, which will be going for the next 2 weeks. So by the time this is out, you'll still be able to get it, no problem.
So what's the deal there?
It is a Humble bundle. If you are not familiar with those, they are bundles of games that you can get for really, really cheap and support charity. Or you can also get, you can pay whatever you want for them. You could pay $1,000 for this bundle of games if you wanted. Right now, the top contributor for this is $100. But yeah, it's a good deal. $1 will net you Steam keys for The Darkness 2, Spec Ops: The Line, and Duke Nukem Forever. Which it's about worth $1, I reckon. $8.36 is the current average, and that will get you Sid Meier's Civilization 5, NBA 2K16, Mafia 2, which is one of my favorite games of last year.
Yeah.
One of my favorite games that I played last year was released back in 2011 or so.
Okay. I've never played a Mafia game.
The first one isn't even available on PC, so you can just play 2. It's a standalone thing.
What might you compare it to that I might have played? If there's anything. I don't know what genre it is or
The
anything.
most easily accessible comparison is kind of a Grand Theft Auto open world crime simulator. It's not quite as open as a Grand Theft Auto. It's much more linear and narrative. It's really well written. It's really well done. I would highly recommend Mafia 2.
Cool. So you got to pay above the Humble Bundle current average to get that one.
Yeah,
is that
that's
right?
$8.36 right now.
Might be higher by the time this comes out, because of course having to pay above the average makes it go up and up and up.
Yep, and $15 gets you Battleborn, Borderlands the pre-sequel, and a couple of Battleborn add-ons as well. There's a skin pack and some in-game currency.
Battleborn's kind of an Overwatch type game, isn't it?
No, it's more like a League of Legends or Dota type game, but as a first-person shooter.
Okay.
It's got some interesting ideas in it, and it's got a really great art style. I'll have to get my hands on it first before I can talk more about it, though.
Sure.
I've watched it be played a little bit, and it looks really cool. And I adore Gearbox's work, so I don't have any doubt that it's going to be a pretty smoothly designed experience. So that's a whole bundle of games that you can grab yourself. Just go to humblebundle.com.
Yeah, I picked up a bunch of Humble Bundles when it sort of first started being a thing.
I think everybody did.
Yeah, I've got some really nice games to go back to every now and then. Again, I think I mentioned one last episode.
Yeah, Hammer Fight.
Yeah, that's one. Have you played that yet?
I haven't played it yet. You have
should give it a go.
You have given me a copy of this, so I will play it. One thing I picked up from Humble recently as well, I picked up a bunch of Sonic comics.
There are Sonic comics? I shouldn't be surprised.
They're published by Archie.
Okay.
So there's a whole, it's a whole thing. There's a lot of them. There's, I have issues 226 to 283.
Wow, okay, that is quite a lot.
And that's just one series. There's like a bunch more that I have not in that series. There's like 7 or 8 Sonic Booms, a whole collection. That's, I think, another like 30, 40 issues. Just ridiculous amount of Sonic comics.
I remember there used to be a TV show for Sonic on while I was a kid.
Sonic X? I think that is what it was.
Really? I just remember it being Sonic the Hedgehog.
It was an animated kind of...
Yeah.
Was it... I don't know. I don't know how to describe the art style of Sonic X. But
okay.
It was. I remember that, and it was fun, and I enjoyed watching it. There was a Kirby anime that aired as well.
I've never played a Kirby game. It kind of has the same thing for me as Mario and stuff, where I can't bring myself to take it seriously. And I realize I'm saying this as someone who has just talked excitedly about being an anthropomorphic cat in a game about fighting giant monsters. So, yeah, that's probably pretty hypocritical.
I don't think it is, because they're whole different styles, I think. Like they're
definitely different, but there is definitely a large element of silliness in this. Like the animations for the cats, a lot of them are aimed at being pretty silly.
Yeah.
Like it's clearly, when you're playing as the hunter, you're like fully under the effect of gravity and stuff. When you're as a cat, not quite as much. I mean, you don't just defy gravity, but there are some moves where you'll just be like jump up in the air, swipe down a few times with your weapon while not falling, and then fall back down again, kind of thing, like cartoony style.
Gotcha.
Which is fine, but like it's intentionally a bit silly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. I haven't really been playing a lot this week. I've played the Call of Duties, I've played the Overwatch.
Have you played any more Pokemon Go?
A little bit, but not a lot. I've been playing Assassin's Creed Unity as comfort food almost, really.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Games are good for that. Games are good for that. Some games when you can just dive into it for a little bit and relax.
Yeah, and it's fun.
It's like the Assassin's Creed game's good for that because you can just go like, I'm gonna go climb some shit or kill some guards, which is pretty violent, but it's okay.
And Paris, as rendered in Assassin's Creed Unity, it's super beautiful. Everything is really well lit, and it's all very shiny. And it is very shiny. It is.
Okay.
There's a lot of very ornate decoration and stuff like that. And for all that the map is packed to the brim, and that's fine. I just enjoy kind of wandering around in there. It's fun. So I've been going to that as comfort food.
Cool.
Do you have any games like that? That you go to as like this feels comfortable to just run around in. You know?
I actually used to do that a bit with the Assassin's Creed games. But I although I own them on PC, I've never actually played them on PC. I think I've got as far as installing them. It's often open world games where I do that. Like I've done it with GTA, when you'll just sort of go in and decide I'm just going to fuck around for a bit and not worry about saving or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just a second.
Yeah, sure. You can unzip the thing. Woo! Yeah, I just wanted some soda. Oh yeah. Mark's just doing something. He's typing very, very fast.
It's just my brother's just asked if I'm here on Skype, so I'm just saying no, not yet. Sort of, but no.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back.
You're back. I'm back. I've got some soda now, which is really good. So just give me 1 second.
Sure.
Ah! Autumn's throwing cards at me.
Actually, you asked about comfort food games, and this is I've found Pokemon actually really good at that. A couple of years ago, or a year and a half ago, I had a cat die, and I was quite a mess for a few months afterwards, but I played a lot of Pokemon during that time, and honestly, it just helped me get my head out of that space. So yeah, Pokemon as that sort of game I found really good. And I've seen news articles about Pokemon Go helping a bunch of people with mental health, actually, just sort of getting people outside, walking around, talking to people and stuff.
That seems to be a really common theme with a lot of the discussion around Pokemon Go, that it's helping people who are suffering from mental illness of all kinds.
Yeah. It's a shame about its accessibility problems for people with physical disabilities, but I have also seen some pretty cool stuff about people encouraging others to drop lures which will attract Pokemon to catch around hospitals and stuff like that for people who are sick in hospital and can't go out.
I've heard some interesting stuff about that. First being that some hospitals are asking people not to now at this point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because if someone puts a lure down and it's just out of reach, then it's more likely to be disappointing to the children who are bound to the hospital.
Yeah, that would be annoying.
And I think it was the case with some hospitals that stuff was just out of range, so they had to say, hey, knock it off. This is disappointing.
That's a shame.
It really is.
It seemed like a good idea.
I totally agree. And I think that, like, it's fine for many hospitals, but in some cases we just end up with a situation where it just doesn't work. But the other thing I've heard with regard to physical disabilities is that Niantic is working on a way for people with physical disabilities to still be able to play the game.
Yeah.
I've
Do
only
you
I've
know what
only
it's about?
I've only heard some rumblings, so I can't really talk about any details.
Okay.
But maybe
Because I'd
next
be
week.
interested to know how that might be done as well.
Yeah, I hear of people just spoofing GPS locations on their phones, like without any anything going on really.
Hmm.
They can walk around and they're fine, but they're spoofing locations on their phones just so they can go around and catch other Pokemon.
Right. So might okay. Okay.
So it might be something. It might be something similar to that, where you have the ability to just like in the app perhaps spoof your
Yeah.
location.
It it'd be a shame if any changes did lead to people, oh, we don't have to walk around anymore, so we won't. But it'd also be good to see them address accessibility issues as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the problem. It's like that's the problem with location-based games of any kind.
Yeah.
Is it's very difficult to make these things considered for accessibility. There's a point to which you can do that, but with physical location-based things, it's really hard to do that. And it puts physically disabled people at a disadvantage. And that sucks. We already disadvantage them enough in our society.
I don't like seeing messages flying around like saying, well, this game's just not made for you, because I don't think that's true, and I don't think it's good enough if it was.
No, I don't think that's good enough at all. You're right.
But yeah, so hopefully they do something about that. That would be cool.
Yeah.
I wish I knew what the answer would be, but
yeah,
hey,
the answer has got to be that you can spoof the location within the app.
Yeah, maybe.
That's got to be the way that you would handle that.
I don't know how else it could be done, but there's quite possibly people who are affected by this who have got some really good ideas about how to sort it out.
Yeah, I imagine there would be, especially if they're working in tech.
Mm.
Then we're likely to have solutions that are going to work there. The other game...
On topic of Pokemon, are you planning on getting Sun or Moon when they come out at the end of the year?
No, probably not.
No?
I've got to finish XY eventually.
Okay.
And then I'll I will probably try to find another copy of Omega Ruby or Alpha Sapphire first.
Mm-hmm.
Because I turned in my copy of Alpha Sapphire because
I find it's a real shame how Pokemon games, of course, they allow only one save, and that save is saved on the cartridge.
Yeah.
So you can't share cartridges, which is a real shame.
It's really annoying, huh?
Yeah, because I know people with 3DSs who I'd like to be like, hey, do you want to borrow my Pokemon game? But they can't without liking my save, which is just annoying. Whereas other games that just have the save on the memory stick, totally fine to do that.
Yeah.
And with physical copies of games, I honestly like sharing games. It's fun. I remember doing it as a kid. I actually remember going up the road to my friend's house and copying a game over on 12 floppy disks and then bringing it home. That was a lot of fun.
Most of my memories with trading physical games have been like people losing them.
Right.
And then like, oh, what? I never had that game. I've had that happen. I had that happen. I still remember this with a copy of The Legend of Zelda: The Phantom Hourglass for the DS. I lent it to someone, and then, months passed, and I was like, "Hey, I want my game back." It's like, I never had that game.
Okay, that's definitely a downside to share it to lending physical games.
That's the only real downside, though, because otherwise, trading games is freaking amazing.
A similar thing to that actually happened with, I don't want to say my copy, but me and my brother's copy of Uncharted 2. Because we lent it to someone. And then we forgot who.
Oh,
we don't know who we lent it to. And whoever it is, we probably don't keep in touch anymore. So we just don't know where that game is.
Uncharted 2 just vanished. It is...
Yeah, pretty much. We've got Uncharted 1.
Would you say that it became Uncharted?
Oh, only if I'm asking for trouble.
Oh. Well, you're always asking for trouble when you're talking to me, so. I mean, the good news is when you get that PS4 that you're planning to, that's just got all 3 games on one disc, and you'll never have to think about where did Uncharted 2 go.
I'd have to buy them again, though.
But they're in HD.
But I have to buy them again. I don't know. You know how frugal I am about paying for things.
That's true. This was
Then again, I am planning on getting Pokemon Moon when it comes out, but I guess it's much easier for me to justify buying 3DS games on release, I think, when my flatmate's going to buy the same or alternate game, like he bought Generations at the same time as me. He's going to get Pokemon Sun when I get Pokemon Moon. And when there's such a multiplayer component to these games, it's really nice actually to get them early on with someone else to play with.
Yeah.
Which is something I don't feel happens as much on PC games. I mean, there is definitely a large multiplayer component, but like, when was the last time you saw split screen multiplayer or something on PC?
Call of Duty Black Ops 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Split screen, like same.
That has split screen. Rocket League has split screen.
Great. That's brilliant. I wish more games did that. I remember being really disappointed with several games that I got them. It's like, oh, there's multiplayer, but not.
I think Borderlands not just has PC, but split screen as well. It definitely does on the PS4 version, which is actually the reason I bought a second controller for mine. I could play that game co-op. Just split screen with up to 4 people.
Cooperative multiplayer is the best.
It really is.
Little Big Planet, those games I really liked for that, especially since like I could play them with my young cousins and stuff as well.
I really like what Destiny and Tom Clancy's The Division have done with their multiplayer as well, because it is much in the same way of Borderlands 2 and Saints Row. It's drop in and drop out co-op.
Right, so you're playing your game and a friend can come and join that game, right?
Yep. And you can also just form up with random fire teams for some missions.
Right.
So you'll get people who are around your level and you can go just conduct a mission together relatively quickly. And games like that making co-op really easy to do are a blessing. We need more of those. Overwatch does party systems as well, so me and Autumn can always be together we can always be together in our matches.
That's good.
Same with like Rocket League and stuff too. If I wanted to play that with a friend, we would create a party.
In team-based games, that's really important, right? You got to be able to play team-based games with your friends, and generally also matching up with strangers just to get enough.
Oh yeah. Because there's no way that I could get a team of 6 together right now.
Yeah.
And we all go play Overwatch. I mean, that would be awesome.
That'd be monumental. 6 people isn't that many.
No, but like people do that all the time for things like League of Legends and stuff like that. They have whole pro teams that do this thing.
It's probably easier when you don't live on the other side of the world from everyone else, and it's night when it's day in the States and stuff.
Oh yeah, the international audience is it's hard to work with.
But as you mentioned before, it means that Australia and New Zealand can be a testing ground so we can get games earlier. Developers, give us games earlier.
Pokemon Go did.
Every game should come out earlier in New Zealand. We see the sunrise first, so therefore we should get games first. Makes sense.
I still want simultaneous worldwide launches to be a thing.
Digital distribution, it definitely makes sense.
Yeah, we still haven't gotten there, though, and that's disappointing. I would actually almost say depressing. It's the same with movies, too, and that's annoying. Like, just launch the movies and launch the TV here all at once. Just do that, please. Like, there's no excuse anymore. It's 2016.
Yeah, borders don't really seem to exist for media so much now that it can just exist online, where you really don't see country borders.
And, like...
It makes things like region locking seem really backwards as well.
Holy shit, does it ever!
I remember when I was looking into getting a 3DS game that is not available in New Zealand. If I remember correctly, it turned out that I couldn't order it from certain places because it might be a region-locked one that I couldn't play on my 3DS, which would be a real freaking pain. I did manage to get one that worked. I think I shipped it in from Australia or something. But
yeah.
Why?
What game was this?
This was Chrono Trigger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which got put on the 3DS. I'd originally played it on a Super Nintendo emulator. I've
You can
got
actually get
DS
that.
as well.
You with Nintendo at least, and with most games really, anything that works European in the European regions, you can get working in New Zealand and Australia as well. I know that with Nintendo stuff, it is definitely 100%. European is the same as AUNZ because I've bought stuff from Europe, or stuff from Europe has been shipped here and it's all just worked fine. So
Right.
that's
Okay.
that. But then the US has their own weird locked off version.
Oh, it's just not helpful. Although
No, it's really
at
not.
least being a primary PC player, it's not something I think I've ever seen on PC games, or certainly not recently, especially since I get almost all my stuff
Oh, there's
digitally
definitely a
onto
few.
Steam.
There's definitely a few
Yeah.
that you can't get on Steam. Like for some really weird reason, you can get Railroad Tycoon 3 and 2 and Sid Meier's Railroads all on GOG here in NZ, but you can't get it on Steam.
Can you get it on Steam elsewhere?
Yeah, you can get it
No,
on
that is weird.
Steam in America and anywhere else. Just not here. You can't get. There was a few MMOs and stuff that you couldn't get as well for a while here, which was a
That reminds me.
weird.
There's been an MMO for Monster Hunter for years that has never had an English release. I tried at one point to get into it, but you had to jump through so many hoops. Like you had to
Monster Hunter Online.
Monster Hunter Frontier. It's
Okay,
called.
because Monster Hunter Online is now a thing.
What's that?
It's another Monster Hunter MMO.
Oh,
I believe it is either Chinese or Japanese only, but
because
it does
Frontier
have
was Korean only, I think.
it has a full English localization.
Huh? I hadn't heard
Well,
of that.
it has an English patch. It doesn't have a quote unquote official support, but it does
Okay.
have that. So
I remember just being really jealous of all this Monster Hunter content that I didn't have access to. So I tried really hard to get into it and just
yeah,
couldn't manage to get that far,
that's
which was interesting. It was because you couldn't do it from New Zealand. You just couldn't.
yeah.
Like I would have needed to use a VPN to Korea and then a bunch of other stuff in order to even make it.
Oh, that's hell. That's
Yeah.
hell on earth. That's a bad experience overall.
To be fair, it wasn't in English either, so I would have been like playing blind because I don't understand the language and I'm not going to be able to teach to myself over a weekend or something.
Yeah.
Although that said, I did play through a previous Monster Hunter game that didn't come out in English with a fan patch of a pirated game that left about 2/3 of it still in Japanese. So I had to memorize the names of my little cat companions by describing the Japanese characters I didn't recognize. So like there was one that was called Three Smiley Face because I don't know how to say those characters or what their names are, and it's hard to search for something you can't type.
Exactly. Speaking of Chrono Trigger, which you briefly mentioned.
Yeah.
Have you heard of this game that's come from Square Enix? Just released today, in fact, I believe. It's called I Am Setsuna.
I've seen that name around. I've not actually read anything about it. So what's the deal with that?
It is a classic Square Enix RPG inspired game from
So when you
Square.
say classic, is like 2D.
2D kind of 2D early Final Fantasies. From the Steam page, I'll just read this for you here, and I think
Okay.
you'll be instantly into this. Inspired by the timeless classic Chrono Trigger, I Am Setsuna is a great homage to the JRPG masterpieces of yesteryear. Journey with Setsuna as she prepares to make the ultimate sacrifice and save the people of her land.
So it's a Chrono Trigger inspired RPG with a female protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in this.
And it's by Square Enix.
Mm-hmm.
And the Tokyo RPG Factory. It's their debut. But
How much is it currently on Steam?
It is currently $47.99.
Okay,
New
and that's
Zealand
New Zealand
dollars?
dollars. Okay.
So it's probably about $30 for most other people. I've heard a lot of good stuff about this game, but I figured because it's inspired by Chrono Trigger, you may very well be interested in it.
Yeah, I want to look into it. I still have as I mentioned before, a backlog now of narrative-based games to get through.
Oh,
But
yeah.
anything inspired by Chrono Trigger is worth a look, I reckon.
Yeah. So with that, I think we are gonna wrap this up.
Well,
We've got one more question, but
which
is something I'm gonna get to in a second.
Okay.
But first I want to talk about something we're gonna talk about next week.
Okay.
Next week we're gonna have a big discussion about online abuse. Mostly in games, kind of harassment and racism, transphobia, this sort of stuff in games. But we're not going to talk about the fact that it's happening, because we know it's happening at this point. It's kind of a reality of gaming, and it's a very disappointing reality. And we think we can do better. So I want to have a discussion next week about what we think games can do better to make their games more welcoming to people. So if you have any suggestions for that, or just any ideas, any stories that you want to share, send us an email. You can email us pausecastshow@gmail.com. You might have your email read on the show. And
let us know.
Yeah,
let us know if you're happy for.
If you just want to share it and don't want us to read it on the show, we'll use first names only, so no worries there. But if you don't want us to read it on the show and just want to share it and maybe give us some inspiration, we'd love to hear it. So again, that email is pausecastshow@gmail.com. Now into our final question. Mark, what are you excited about playing this week?
Well, surprisingly, I think this week I'm going to play some Monster Hunter Generations.
Oh, weird, huh?
Yeah, I don't know.
Strange choice
Something
for you.
It's like it's new or something. You know that feeling with a new game? Yeah, I'm going to be playing a bunch more of that.
That new game smell.
My cousin is back from his trip as well, so there's 3 of us who own it. So I'm sure I'll be doing a bunch of multiplayer on that, trying to progress, fight some more of the new monsters. I'm jealous of the feeling that my roommate's getting of he's seeing a lot more monsters that are new to him because he hasn't played the earlier games.
Right.
So a lot of the ones that are like, oh, I remember this one from 2 games ago. He's like, what the hell is this? It's cool.
Oh, yeah.
So I want more new content. And there is more new content for me to get to.
Oh, yeah. There's the 4 new legendary monsters, and you've got a whole bunch of stuff.
There's more new monsters than that. But yeah, this one's got 4 title monsters, whereas most Monster Hunter games just have 1. So
yeah.
I've seen them all now. I haven't hunted them, but I've seen them all, and they're all very cool.
The Gormagala was really cool in Monster Hunter 4.
Yeah, it was.
So is that all you're really going to be playing this week?
Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
And as for myself, I'm going to be playing a lot more Overwatch.
Cool.
I'm not really sure what else I'm going to play this week. There's going to be Overwatch. There's definitely going to be some Call of Duty. I'm probably going to pick some up after we finish recording, actually.
Okay.
I'm still making some progress in Doom, so that's something. Maybe Rise of the Tomb Raider? Maybe?
Cool. I mean, already that's a lot of game for a week, from my perspective.
Well, remember, I just kind of jump from game to game to game.
Yeah, I know. You have a much wider spread than I do.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of how you play games.
You're like in terms of how you play games, you'd be more like just a sniper. One game at a time. Boom. Boom, 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 boom.
I think the appropriate word for how I play games is I binge on games, but I binge on one game at a time.
A sniper's focus, perhaps. I have the spread of a goddamn shotgun. I'm everywhere at once. And also nowhere. All right. Mark, where can people find you on Twitter?
I am at Honest Universe on Twitter.
All right.
And yourself?
I am at Cocktail Cutie on Twitter. That is cutie the word, not QT the letters.
That's a very long Twitter handle.
I mean...
Sorry, I'm just...
All things considered... Oh, I get it. I get the joke.
It's
okay.
Like our email is pausecastshow, all one word, @gmail.com.
Yep. You can also find our Twitter at PauseCastShow. We have
Nice pause there to stop me from making another joke.
we have a Facebook group. It is facebook.com/groups/PauseCast show. You can join that and post away in there. If you're listening to us on iTunes, why not give us a rating or a review? If you're not listening to us on iTunes, why not go to iTunes and give us a rating or a review? You can do that by going to bit.ly/pausecast-iTunes. Or if you want to follow us on SoundCloud, you can also do that. We are PauseCast Show on SoundCloud. That's going to do it for us this week, I think. Probably a little bit shorter this week, but that's all right.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you all next week.
Bye.